It's November of 2013. The best second baseman in Texas Rangers history is sitting on a beach in Hawaii, keeping the vibes at an all-time high. Sure, they had just lost to the Rays in a heartbreaking one-game playoff a couple of months prior, and Ian Kinsler did get into a fight with future Hall of Famer Adrian Beltre late that September. But he's a competitor. This is baseball. It happens. But then came the text. Did you see? You've been traded to the Tigers for Prince Fielder. In one moment, the best second baseman in Rangers history's life was turned on its head by a text message from a Dallas radio personality. His thoughts on the trade? I hope they go 0-162. I hope they lose their asses. But let's back up a bit, shall we? What if I told you that Ian Kinsler is not just the best second baseman in Texas Rangers history, but one of the best second basemen in Major League history? Yet his legacy, just like that 2013 trade, is rarely talked about. Heck, it's even on the cusp of being forgotten entirely. Did you know that he is one of only 5 second basemen in Major League history with a 30 home run, 30 stolen base, 30 double season? He did it twice. He's also only one of just 7 second basemen with 3 or more 20 home run, 20 double seasons. He might be one of the most consistent second basemen ever, as he posted 20 doubles and 10 steals a whopping 13 different times in his career. Eat your heart out, Joe Morgan. He also surpassed Hall of Famers Ryne Sandberg and Craig Biggio in that category. He's 6th all-time in leadoff home runs with 48, is a 4-time All-Star, 2-time Gold Glover, and even won the 2018 World Series. So can someone please tell me why Ian Kinsler received just 2.5% of the Hall of Fame vote in 2025 and got the boot from the 2026 ballot? That's also with 2 other second basemen with similar numbers finishing well above him? Yeah, I'm looking at you, Utley, and Pedroia. Stick around for a fun comparison on that last bit. But buckle up, baseball fans! First, it's time to unpack Ian Kinsler's drama-filled career, specifically highlighting some of the crazy highs and lows, because it's not just the Hall of Fame. Ian Kinsler has been fighting for respect to not be forgotten his entire career, and it started right out of college. Did you know that Ian Kinsler is one of only 4 players in Major League history to have a 6-hit game with a cycle included? Not bad for a former 17th round pick.
Come again?
Yep, you heard that right. Ian Kinsler transferred to the University of Missouri for his junior season and wasn't drafted until the 17th round of the 2003 draft. Fun fact, prior to attending Mizzou, Kinsler actually attended the same junior college as Rich Harden, please be sure to check out my video on him, and then attended Arizona State University, where he ended up losing the shortstop job to future Red Sox legend Dustin Pedroia, forcing him to transfer. Stick around for more on Pedroia later, but that 17th round draft position actually has some fascinating context. Kinsler played quite well at Mizzou, slugging over 500 with 16 steals and a batting average of .335. You could argue that his draft position itself was disrespectful. But did you know that he played his entire junior year hurt? Well, you wouldn't be alone if you didn't. No one outside of Ranger scout Mike Grouse knew at the time, resulting in Kinsler's drop. He'd just go on to post a higher B-WAR than anyone else in that 2003 draft class, by over 20 wins. His 53.8 Baseball Reference wins above replacement are almost double what Nick Markakis and Adam Jones posted in their solid careers. Good call, Mike Grouse. So after being drafted, Kinsler just did what he always did. He balled. Kinsler took the minors by storm and quickly made his way to Texas, where he'd just go on to become the best second baseman in Rangers history with his combination of speed, power, defensive skill, leadership, and grit from 2006 to 2013. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Wait till you see what Joe Maddon pulled in 2009. From 2006 to 2013, Ian Kinsler wasn't just one of the best Texas Rangers, he was one of the best players in all of baseball. From a B-WAR perspective, he was just as valuable as superstars like Alex Rodriguez, Carlos Beltran, or Evan Longoria. And he was more valuable than shortstops Hanley Ramirez and Troy Tulowitzki over that same time period. In fact, only 2 second basemen were better than him from a B-WAR perspective during this time. More on those two in a bit, but one thing they never did, have 2 30-30-30 seasons. Kinsler did, and both came during his time with the Rangers, 2009 and 2011 to be precise. In 2009, Kinsler was dynamic. He hit .253 with 31 nukes, 32 doubles, 31 steals, while slugging almost .500 and posting an OPS over .800. It was all worth the second highest B-WAR of his career at 6.0, and he even received an MVP vote. But would you believe me if none of that was the most interesting part of his 2009 season? And no, it's not his 6-hit cycle game earlier that year either. The most interesting part? That would be his All-Star break. Coming into the break that year, Ian Kinsler was on fire. He hit 20 home runs with 63 runs batted in prior to the All-Star break, yet wasn't even an All-Star reserve. Why, you ask? Well, as Bleacher Report put it, Tampa Bay Rays skipper Joe Maddon spent his tenure as the AL All-Star manager finding new and inventive ways to give Ian Kinsler the middle finger. Initially, it wasn't all Maddon's fault, though. Kinsler lost the fan vote for starting second baseman that year to none other than the same man who beat him out for the ASU shortstop gig, Dustin Pedroia. But what's worse was that it was on the last day of voting. Kinsler had the lead with 24 hours to go. Kinsler then lost the player vote to Aaron Hill and would go on to lose the last chance fan vote to Brandon Inge. Then came Joe Maddon. Maddon snubbed him from the reserves prior to the last chance vote to begin with, but then had 2 different chances to add him to the team and didn't. First, when Dustin Pedroia withdrew from the game, the second baseman that just edged out Kinsler in the fan vote and had just 3 home runs to Kinsler's 20 that first half. And when Rays third baseman Evan Longoria had to withdraw, instead of selecting the logical choice in Kinsler to replace either of those two, Joe Maddon instead chose Carlos Pena and his .225 average and Sean Figgins, who actually finished behind Kinsler in both fan votes and the player vote.
Man, that's bullshit!
Joe Maddon really hated Ian Kinsler, but as we already talked about, he didn't let this slow him down one bit. The 2009 season was a dandy for Kinsler, but also not his only 30-30-30 season. Kinsler dominated once again in 2011. That's after a drama-free 2010, which actually included an All-Star invite too. Funny enough though, in 2011, Kinsler would have his best season as a pro and not be invited to the Midsummer Classic. He posted a 7.0 B-WAR season in 2011 with 32 nukes, 34 doubles, 30 steals, an OPS over 800, and an OPS plus of 118 on his way to an 11th place finish in the 2011 AL MVP race. He even stole 28 straight bases to start the 2011 season. He was a beast. And again, one of just 2 second basemen to have multiple 30-30-30 seasons. Ever! Kinsler had etched his place in baseball history with the Rangers and continued to succeed in 2012 and 2013, as he hit a career-high 42 doubles in 2012 on his way to his 3rd All-Star appearance and posted a B-WAR of 5 in just 136 games in 2013. But then came the text. After spending the past 8 seasons giving your blood, sweat, and tears to an organization, posting better numbers than any second baseman in your storied franchise's history, you'd think that would earn you at least a phone call from your GM on the way out, right? Well, not in Ian Kinsler's case. Kinsler was in Hawaii living his best life when he received a text message from a Dallas radio personality letting him know that he had been traded for Prince Fielder. As you can imagine, Kinsler was pissed. Kinsler talked about the trade in a 2014 article with ESPN and how he sort of knew the writing was on the wall. Did you know that in 2013, the Texas Rangers asked Kinsler to move to first base to make room for then 19-year-old Jurickson Profar? Kinsler was of the old school mentality, however, and felt Profar needed to earn that spot, and declined. He also got into an altercation with future Hall of Famer Adrian Beltre that year after shortstop Elvis Andrus took his time getting the ball back to the pitcher one late September game. They'd end up sorting their differences out in the tunnel after the inning. But still, not even a direct communication from your team? Kinsler didn't hold back when discussing the trade either. Daniels is a sleazeball.
Damn!
Kinsler said, referring to then Rangers GM John Daniels after the trade. But it also allowed Kinsler the chance to just be one of the guys as opposed to being the leader of the team. At the time, this trade was a doozy too. WAR wasn't really accepted as a stat to this point, so on the face of it, it appeared that the Rangers won this puppy in a landslide, even though they were trading away a franchise pillar. Kinsler's numbers appeared to be declining, and he wasn't fitting into their plans on the field either, while Fielder was coming off of 3 straight 25-plus home run, 100-plus RBI seasons. Unfortunately for Prince though, he'd never really established himself with the Rangers before being forced to retire due to injury. Ian Kinsler though? Well, he'd used this trade as motivation and spent the next 4 seasons in Detroit just doing more of what he was known for. From 2014 to 2016, Ian Kinsler posted 3 straight seasons with a B-WAR higher than 5. He hit 56 nukes, 104 doubles, stole 39 bases, and posted an OPS of 775 and an OPS plus of 112. He may not have been as fast, but he was still a dynamic, consistent force. Kinsler even rounded out his career very nicely with one more season in Detroit where he hit 20-plus doubles and 20-plus nukes one last time before being traded to the Angels prior to the 2018 season. He actually did quite well at the Angels too, posting a B-WAR of 2.3 in just 91 games. In fact, he played so well that he was traded to the Boston Red Sox prior to the deadline that year and would actually go on to win the 2018 World Series, replacing Dustin Pedroia. Funny how baseball works sometimes, eh? Speaking of Pedroia, did you realize that he received 11.5% of the vote for the 2025 Hall of Fame class? Kinsler received just 2.5%, and fellow second baseman Chase Utley, 39.8% of the vote. Was Ian Kinsler really that much worse than those two? I think you'll be surprised. Ian Kinsler finished his career with a B-WAR of 53.8 over almost 1,900 games after his final season in San Diego. He won a World Series, was a 4-time All-Star, and a 2-time Gold Glover. Dustin Pedroia posted a similar B-WAR of 51.9, but played in almost 400 less games than Kinsler. He was also a 4-time All-Star, but he did win an MVP award and Silver Slugger, while also winning 2 more Gold Gloves than Kinsler. He also won 3 World Series rings. If you think Dustin Pedroia had a better career than Ian Kinsler, you are well within your rights. But Dustin Pedroia was not as consistent as Ian Kinsler. Hit almost 100 less nukes, drove in almost 200 less runs than Kinsler, and played in fewer games than Kinsler. Dustin Pedroia isn't 6th all-time in leadoff home runs, is he? And he never hit for the cycle while tacking on a couple of more hits just for fun in the same game either. Dustin Pedroia is an absolute legend in Boston, but after beating out Kinsler for the ASU shortstop gig and the 2009 All-Star game, Kinsler and Pedroia actually finished with very similar careers. Maybe not Hall of Fame worthy,
Boom!
but Kinsler should absolutely still be on the ballot if Pedroia is. And Chase Utley is even more similar to Kinsler with his bat being just slightly better. Kinsler was 1 hit shy of 2,000, which was more than Utley had. Kinsler also hit just as many home runs and drove in only 100 less runs than Utley. Utley and Pedroia each had career OPSs north of 800, but Kinsler stole almost 100 more bases than Utley and well over 100 more than Pedroia. Chase Utley also never won a Gold Glove, despite underlying numbers saying he was probably the better defender. From a doubles perspective, both Kinsler and Utley each hit over 400, while Pedroia hit just under 400 in his career. As you can see, the numbers are not that far off. Yet Utley received 39.5% of the vote and probably is going to get in the Hall eventually. And Pedroia will probably continue to stay at least on the ballot in the coming years, all while Ian Kinsler is one and done. The disrespect. But is that really the truth about Ian Kinsler's legacy? Ian Kinsler was one of the most consistently dynamic players in baseball history. Not the most consistently dynamic. That title goes to Alfonso Soriano, of course. Please be sure to check out my video on him too. But Kinsler still had a very consistently dynamic major league career that can't be forgotten. That's the truth. He finished one hit shy of 2,000. He's one of only 10 players in baseball history to have two 30-30-30 seasons. But Soriano is the only other second baseman to have more 30-30-30 seasons than Kinsler. He went 20-23 times and is 6th all-time in leadoff home runs. He's a former 17th round pick who ascended to become the best second baseman in Texas Rangers history. He was even traded for one of the game's best sluggers and made the Tigers look like geniuses for the move. He may have a lower B-WAR than Chase Utley, less Gold Gloves than Pedroia, but the majority of his numbers are right in line with both of those two, if not better in some ways. Yet he received just 2.5% of the Hall of Fame vote in 2025 and is off the ballot in 2026. Ian Kinsler may not be a Hall of Famer in the writer's eyes, but his legacy, thanks to folks like you who love our game, will never be forgotten. That's gonna do it for today, baseball fans. Thanks so much for watching. Who are you taking? Kinsler, Utley, or Pedroia? Let me know down below. Please consider subscribing if you haven't, and please be sure to hit that like button if you enjoyed yourself. I know I did. But until next time, baseball fans, cheers!